Hello, guys. My name is Lucas. This is going to be my digital capstone project for DCIM. Uh, so my topic today is basically discussing on how AI is starting to shape our everyday lives, and I want to discuss what this could mean for the future of our work. Something I think a lot of people are talking about, and I think should talk about because it's going to affect our lives and our work in the future. So when we hear about AI all the time now, there's like many tools that help us, write code, write in general, or even decide like what we want to do in our lives. Basically, I know there's a lot of people who use AI to actually make basic decisions, but it's got me thinking on how this all connects to just how we as people are basically giving our lives to AI and how we need to actually, take a step back and figure out how we shouldn't rely, no, how we should not rely too much on AI and start to just utilize it in ways that we only need. So, I guess in the topic of discussion, work, uh, you know, even though a lot of people would want to not use it so much for work, I think at this point it's a little too late. It's something that is here and it's never probably gonna go away ever now. So might as well adapt and just get used to it. Um, Figure out how the best way to utilize it for anything that you do, but also limit it. I guess try not to go crazy on it. Try not to rely on it too much, especially in terms of I guess simple little questions that you have. I mean, that's what Google's for. Google uses AI at this point too, but you know, just try to be not so reliant on it. But yeah, overall, this is just where I'm gonna go with this. And I hope you enjoy. So for this first section, I want to talk about AI in everyday life. So I guess let's talk about where we are right now, which is what I discussed a little earlier. Basically, AI is already everywhere, and there's so many companies that are just focusing on AI to the point where it's become a huge bubble, and people are just no, not people. These companies are building all these tools to essentially just gain as much, you know, publicity as possible for people to use their tools, like stuff that can write essays and generate images. There's new stuff that's coming out that's generating videos at this point, or even like movie scenes, and also stuff that's just trying to help solve problems. So yeah, this isn't something that's very small. It's something that I think almost all tech companies are doing at this point. One of my sources, the Stanford University AI Index, reports that AI development and investment have increased rapidly over the past few years. At the same time, we're also seeing real adoption into the workplace, something that wasn't here like a year ago. But at this point, according to one of my other sources, the Pew Research Center, about 1 in 5 U.S. workers already say that they use AI in their jobs. So this isn't something that's like the future. It's something that's happening already. It's something how it's something that people just are at this point adapting to. People are just deciding that there's no point in trying to protest, I guess, because I know there's people out there that do that. People protest AI by not using it at all, but people are caving in at this point. And at this point, I think we should all, to some degree, find a way to better utilize stuff like this. So now I want to discuss AI in future jobs. So the big point in my whole DCIM project. So this is something that a lot of people question about the future, and a lot of research suggests that AI isn't also just replacing jobs; it's also changing them. So I guess, for example, research from OpenAI found that 80% of workers could at least have some part of their job affected by AI, and that's a pretty significant number. There's also reports from one of my sources, McKinsey and Company, that says AI could add trillions of dollars to the global economy, which is a big impact on how technology will work for us at this point. Another source that I have, the World Economic Forum, predicts that while some jobs will disappear, millions of new ones will be created because of AI and other global trends. So I think I find that a little interesting because I think one of the big reasons we're so scared of AI is because we don't want to lose our jobs. And I think at this point there's gonna be some jobs that are lost because and I think it's gonna become it's gonna be the simple ones, I guess. Unfortunately, I have an example of AI replacing a job. I had a friend who worked as a scribe for a hospital and unfortunately got laid off because they started using AI to do it instead of a real person. So unfortunately, it was not a great situation for them, but I think that's a pretty um, good example of like what type of jobs you will expect to see be replaced. But I think now at this point, AI is changing the type of skills that people need, and I think now especially there's more demand for both technical skills and human skills like creativity and problem solving. Everything is not happening instantly. It's all very slowly and gradually happening. And it's all happening right in front of our faces. So one of my sources, according to research from MIT, it discusses how many companies are still slowly integrating AI into everyday work. And yeah, this is something that's very happening very slowly. So, but at this point, at the point that we are right now, we can already see from I guess 2 years ago, there's a lot has changed. And overall, there's also groups like the Brookings Institution, one of my other sources, that says that generative AI could impact a large share of tasks across different jobs and not just one industry. So instead of thinking about AI as something that replaces job, I think it makes more sense to think about how AI will actually reshape. And like I discussed earlier, how people will just need to get more technical, I guess, and start to actually understand how to utilize AI in a way that will help them much more compared to I guess just replacing them entirely. Um and yeah, I think at this point, like I said a lot already a lot of times. Uh so this section I kind of want to integrate into this because I think it will be just a little fun. Um it has kind of something to do with technology in general, but not really. But either way, I want to make the connection anyways. I've been a fan of the show Severance. It's a show based on I guess how do I even explain it? Well, if you heard of it, then you know. If you haven't, maybe just search it up. It's kind of hard to explain, but I guess if I could, in the show, basically workers or a specific amount of workers have their memories split, so the work life and the personal life are completely separate. And it's to a point where there are two different consciousnesses, consciousnesses, and obviously, we're not there yet in terms of technology, but I kind of want to discuss it because I feel like at some point we could see something similar down the line. But I guess this whole topic is basically how we might see something like this in the future because we're drastically changing how AI is being operated and I guess changing on how we want technology to work for us. Also, I want to discuss something that has some merit in how this little, I guess, hypothesis could come true. So I found a pretty interesting source the other day. Uh, Scientists actually trained human brain cells to play the video game Doom. So basically, they connected human neurons to a computer and they sent electric signals to the brain cells and they trained them to respond and interact with the game. So that sounds kind of crazy because these neurons are not like alive, I guess. They're just random neurons that they had lying around, I guess. And they trained the mind to just basically um yeah, played the game Doom, which is kind of crazy. And I don't know, this had me thinking that at some point, maybe down the line, we'll have technology uh, big enough to the point where we can train neurons in our brains that, like right now, to basically do work and we wouldn't remember them. Because that's the whole, I guess, uh, main story of the show. Not the main story, but it's like the big point of it. But there's obviously a very much bigger meaning behind the show. So I don't know. This is just something I wanted to add in. It's just something I was thinking about because I don't know. It seems cool. Also, I was a pretty big fan of the show. Right now, hasn't been on in like a year or so. Season 2 ended like a year ago. But yeah, technology, all that. Maybe at some point we'll see something like that. I feel like if we do see something like that, it'll truly be like the end times, I guess, because that's kind of crazy to think about. Yeah, that would have been great, or that wouldn't be great. Yep. Okay, I just want to end this overall. This is a pretty long podcast. It's much longer than I thought it would be, probably because I just talked too much. But I guess overall, what I learned through all this entirely, which I will go more deeper into my paper, but AI isn't just about how machines getting smarter. I think it's about how our lives are going to change because of it. I think, according to my research, by 2050, it's very likely that most jobs will involve working with AI in some way, even if it might even be a coworker at that point, I think, which is kind of crazy. But I think it can make things more efficient and even open up new opportunities. But also, I think it also raises the question on how much we rely on technology right now. And I guess if we rely on it too much now, how much are we going to rely on it in the future? At some point, it just stops becoming a tool. And at that point, it's just part of our lives entirely. But yeah, I think this is a great topic that I found to talk about, and I enjoyed it. So yes, end the podcast. Goodbye.